All right, so we're live. What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday to you. We have made it to another great week. I'm your host, Vernon Brown, here, teaching you how to get rid of stress, to manage it, to get ahead of it, to have some different ways of appreciating it. Because stress is a great time for we're evolving. Stress is a great time for changing, but I'm not saying it's always a pleasant experience. And make sure you subscribe at VernonLeeBrown.com to make sure you stay in the know, and also to get my three magical words that will switch stress around, switch those distractions around, and get you ahead at VernonLeeBrown.com. Make sure you subscribe. Going into this weekend, we're talking about, de-stressing, as I was saying earlier, but going into this weekend, giving some more tips about how to handle and better manage stress. Let's adjust this camera here. It's this a beautiful thing in life that I wish I'd figured out years and years and years ago because it caused me so much stress. I remember sitting up, being up all night long over it because I didn't understand the power of this. I remember I was in knots. I had some level of depression, I'm sure, at one really, formidable point in my life. And when I realized what made a lot of that pain, that anguish, that worry, just everything, all was related to stress go away, it really shifted things a lot for me. And something that, I'm a bigger fan of, and that's why I was excited to talk about this today because I almost forgot about it. I'm talking about the word acceptance. That's why I labeled this. I put the title of the show is "Come on, Stress. Come on in, sit down, have a cup of tea." When you are in a certain place of stress, sometimes we can feel that stress because we're trying to fight what is happening. Take this with a grain of salt, because this doesn't apply to every situation. If it does apply to your situation, great. If it doesn't, keep on rolling. But definitely be careful sometimes where you apply this. But in some aspects of your life, it's a good position to look at acceptance, and acceptance for what is, acceptance for the fact that this might suck for the next 2 months, might suck for the next 2 weeks. It might just be this point in time that you're going to have to deal with this. It's not going to be pretty, but you're going to get on the other end of it. If you're going to put your head down, if you are just going to, grind it out, which I cannot stand that word, but there's some points in life where there's no other way around it. You know, Forget about any fancy way of saying it. It's just going to suck sometimes. And sometimes you're just going to have to put the hard work in. You're going to have to grind, and you're going to have to tell stress to go on here, come on in, get in the car, get in the back seat, and we're going to have a sing along. You have got to sit back and say that if I want to get to this place, if I'm for me to get past this, if for this point of time, however long that may be, I don't have a magical crystal ball to tell you these things, how long it's going to last, but for some amount of time, it can't stay that way. It can't. But at some point, it's going to break, and you just are going to have to accept some things that are happening. Um, I know when I was going through a really tough time in my life, and it's about 20 years ago. I remember the time I was speaking of earlier. The stress was coming from me trying to find a way to get around it, trying to find a way of denying it, trying to find a way of ignoring it. But once I accepted it and I recognized it wasn't a judgment, again, depending on the subject, depending on what we're talking about or what you could be struggling with, depending on what that is, you just sit in it in a place of power. Because then I just remember this calm came over me, and it was just this flow of like, let's go. Because then I could go on to the next step, so I could just go ahead and mobilize myself. So some of the stress, some things that could be getting you down, some of those things that you're not necessarily bad. It could be the stress of success. Because, oh my gosh, you got to get past this. I'm not trying to frame it like everything's bad, but I'm just saying whenever you're at those points in life where you're at a growth potential, sometimes acceptance, a little sprinkle of acceptance, and a good sing along, and telling stress that y'all going to sing along together, singing about TLC, What About Your Friends? All of a sudden, it moves a little bit differently in your life. Thank you, Jane, for that. I appreciate it. Go out there, find ways to manage stress before stress manages you. Acceptance. Just a little bit, recognizing that there's nothing wrong with me. I'm going to have to handle the situation, that I'm not faulty, I'm not broken. It's just some things are going to happen in life, and I can get through this. And once I get on the other end of this, it's going to be so much better. It's going to be a lot brighter. It's everything, man. Go ahead and sprinkle some of that cinnamon on your life. Go out there, accept those things, and rock on. Be easy. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you Monday.